is the sum total size of my lawn.
Come on, get in there.
I wouldn't leave the house if I had a couple of ribs removed. You need good deep penetration.
Just stick that on your head and stab away with your welding rod.
Hey everyone, mobility scooter, lithium ion cells mixed with lead acid cells. It's too long, we need to make it shorter, and it would be nice to get it back out on the road and have a quick play with it. So let's get the angle grinder out, let's get the welder out and make some quick adjustments.
First job to do is unbolt these pieces of wood from the front and back. So next job, let's get all these batteries off of it. As always, when you're in the middle of a project like this, it just starts hammering it down. So on the bench in front of us then, we've got sealed gel lead acid batteries, 2 of those. They're not doing particularly well. We've got 6.9 volts, 10.5 volts. So this guy's looking a little bit better. And then to the right of those, we've got these bad boys, and we need to handle them a little bit carefully. These are the lithium ion cells that I put together, 12 volts. And all of these cells are individually fused. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit, there's 3 strands of wire, and admittedly that's probably 10 amps or so, but these cells have the ability to be able to distribute, or to be able to give out about 20 amps a cell. So it'd be quite dangerous. Certainly not a good idea to perhaps have metalwork on your hand. In fact, I understand that somebody with a regular car battery had a spanner in his hand and connected with the spanner in his hand to one terminal and the other terminal, and his ring heated up and really hurt him, as you can well imagine. Quite painful experience. So what's the plan then, now we've got all of these out? Well, I suppose we should probably get that lot on charge, and then what we've got to do is over here is we need to change the disc on the cutting disc on my grinder. So let's get a nice new spanking cutting disc fitted to the grinder. What I tend to do is I tie the tool onto the electric cable. Little button on the back here, you press that in and it locks, there we go, it locks the shaft. And pop this bad boy off, make sure that washer stays on. I have actually given this a little bit of a grease coating, and then pop your disc on and just check that there's no rotational direction arrows or anything like that, and just tweak that ever so gently. The other thing you'll probably note is I don't have a guard on this, and please always when you're using one of these make sure that you've got safety gear.
Turn the mobility scooter on its back, and as you can see here then we've just got ribs going across and one center piece of steel. So ultimately we can just chop out a couple of ribs. Let's remove a couple of ribs. So there's a bit of structure there we want to avoid. So I reckon if we just sort of chop it there and there, we should be able to recombine it with the welder in a few minutes with a bit of luck. One thing you need to be careful of is you're grinding into a bit of box section like that. When the blade goes in, if the chassis suddenly collapses, it'll actually grab that blade and snatch it and maybe chuck the grinder somewhere. So so what I've decided to do is just get it to a point where I can metal fatigue it apart. Now, there we go. A little bit of oh, there she goes. Look at that. It's absolutely hammering it down again. 1 minute the sun's shining, next minute it's hammering it down. Great news! We've removed a couple of ribs. I wouldn't leave the house if I had a couple of ribs removed. Whew.
So the next part of the mission is to prepare the surfaces for welding. So hopefully, as you can see there, I've given that a little bit of a clean up and made it nice and flat, and also try to clean up some of the crap from around the outside of it, so that when you butt them together and fire up the welder, it does what it says on the tin. It welds the joints. You need good deep penetration. Oh, hailstones! Okay, everything's lining up reasonably nicely now. I hope you can see. So we'll go ahead and we'll put a couple of tack welds in place, which means getting the welding gear out and going and finding some welding rods. I don't have the best welding gear in the world. Alright, so here's the welding gear. This is actually a mate of mine, Matty, who lent me this quite some time ago. I don't think he really uses it. I hardly ever use it. But it's an AC arc stick welder. Easy Arc 190E. Yeah, it's a load of rubbish really. Well, compared to what I've used in other people's shops, this is never easy to work with, this kind of kit. But you can vary the current here, and you've got your traditional ground clip, which you clip onto something metallic, and then here you've got your torch or your lance or whatever it is you want to call it. Key thing is the sticks are dry and they're the appropriate size. I've been through my stick collection. All of my sticks are wet and none of them the appropriate size to be able to weld this box section. So we're going to have to do a few layers. Now the other important thing is a decent welding mask. This here is a solar powered auto activated welding mask. And actually, maybe I can show you how it works. If you look through the screen here, when I pop it into sunshine quickly, it should suddenly go black. When you get a sudden transition, yeah, it flicks on and off. So you don't have to try and hold a welding mask up to your face. But ultimately, you just stick that on your head and stab away with your welding rod. They're wonderful inventions. The other thing you're going to need is a decent pair of leather welding gloves. A lot of you boys and girls are going to laugh at my pigeon poo welding, but it's been a year since I've done any welding, and actually that's not horrible for me.
I bet you can't guess what's coming next. I'll give you one guess. Grass, mobility scooter. Lawnmower. So, looking at this, it actually shouldn't be too hard. This is just an old barrel mower that I had kicking around, and what you've got to do is that, and well, look at that, handles away. Now all we've got to do is drill a couple of holes in here. Can you believe it? We got a lawnmower. A ride-on lawnmower for my tiny lawn. Let me show you how big my lawn is if you haven't seen it. That is the sum total size of my lawn. But we're going to have our own budget ride-on lawnmower. This is going to be epic, people.
Check it out. I've boxed and secured the batteries a little bit better. Well, one of them. I've put some floorboards down, as you can see there as well. I've bent up the old mower handle, and I've given it a bit of a push test. I haven't yet finished the final battery. As soon as we've got that done, this bad boy is going to mow the lawn. Okay, so we're getting a few of these batteries on charge now, and going to give them a bit of a conditioning, make sure that they're up to full capacity. I've decided that these lithium packs here are a little fragile and also a little dangerous just to sort of have them kicking around. So you've caught me in the process of building an enclosure, hopefully a rather tight fitting enclosure, there she goes, for these packs, so that we can minimize potential problems. And there it is, 6x8 18650 lithium pack. Should probably put some kind of battery management system in here really, but yeah, one day. And that, my good friends, is quite possibly the world's dodgiest battery. Okay, so for dubious safety, we've got a little bit of plastic between these contacts here which connect the different runs of batteries together, and then what I'm going to do is slide in another little bit of plastic. Come on, get in there. There she is, lovely. And that should protect these from touching those, and then on top of that, clearly it needs plenty of this stuff here. There we go. It's all dubiously safe now. Perfect. Let's just check the voltage, make sure we're not in current mode. 12.5 volts, close to a full charge. Happy days. And the mower attachment is easily fitted. Just a couple of bolts and some butterfly nuts. And before you know it, you're off mowing the lawn again. I forgot how much fun this thing is. It's even more fun now it's short. We need a bigger back garden. Check the mirror. Okay, and go. Oh, you went backwards. Okay, you can park it in the shed then. Look at the turning circle on this thing, it's epic.